listen, dude, like before I put you in touch or with the VP of sales, or you're going to meet the CEO who's a good
Mm-hmm.
client of mine. If I feel like they're just like dicking me around, or if I feel like there's some weirdness or kind of lacking in communication, I will absolutely have a conversation like, dude, where are we going with this? Is this something that you really are interested in, or what? But to make it so official and at that point in the process too, yeah, that's just nonsense.
Welcome back to another episode of the podcast Asking the Question that we ask 1,000 times a day, but it's time recruiters start asking themselves, is this still a good time? I'm very excited today. My guest is someone who is a lot of fun. I think this show might get off the rails. Someone who honestly keeps me like on my toes and making sure I act okay. Like I have a list of people that I don't ever want to be called out by, and I'm always concerned or secretly calling me out, and he is one of them. My guest today is the very fun Shaun Hervey. Shaun, before we get started, I just need to know, is this still a good time?
It's still a good time, man. I'm good till 11 o'clock, so let's rock and roll.
Okay, a very literal answer.
Very literal answer. I bet you weren't expecting that from me, were you?
I was not. I really thought
Yeah.
you were just going to like get up and walk away.
Yeah.
So, Shaun, just for context and to help before I get into all these things, right now that we know we're on a good time, you're a recruiter, of course, but like, what do you do? Because I think you're like two straight agency recruiters I brought on, or kind of like independent, kind of working. But like, just give me like a little background so that I don't have to keep explaining things to the audience when we reference things they don't know.
Yeah. So I am an independent recruiter at my own little agency, where we really focus a lot of our business is in the software space, SaaS, go to market, all things tech, right? So it's AI, SaaS. Been doing it for about 2 years, and we're going strong, doubling every year that I'm doing it. So it's been good. It's been interesting. It's been a crazy ride, I'll tell you that. But yeah, overall, that's what I do. I'm a recruiter for software sales in tech.
Yeah, you're one of many, I think, right now, just like deciding you're going to do this for yourself,
Hmm.
and kind of going, and that's certainly something that I think every recruiter is realizing.
Yeah.
Could have to be where we go. I think you have a lot of opinions on a lot of stuff. So I always like to start this episode with what I call the recruiter breakdown, which is like the thing we want to get into, but also because recruiters are always on the verge of having a breakdown.
Oh yeah.
Um, and I think like you're someone who has carved this niche for himself, and where you have sort of like, I almost said like the lamest term, where you're like the bad boy of recruiting, which like I think we would both hate so much if that was actually what it
That
is.
would be the worst. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. We got to cut
this
that one out for
no,
sure.
that is staying in. Shaun's the bad boy of recruiting. It might even be the episode title. Um, but right, you don't put up with a lot of bullshit, I think. But
Yeah.
yet you still, I assume, do a good job as a recruiter. I've never seen you recruit. I assume you're filling roles and doing things. Um,
Yes.
right, like tell the audience just sort of like your thoughts on the internet and
Oh my
recruiters, and because
goodness.
they may not see everything you do. So like get
Yeah.
unleashed for a second on this.
So I think to hit on something that you brought up, right, is like the having a limited filter, just kind of who I am as a human being. It's just naturally just who I am. I've tried many iterations of myself, if that makes sense, trying to go the route of just being this buttoned up suit and tie sort of person, and it just doesn't work. I get awkward, I clam up, I
Mm-hmm.
can't talk to people freely, I'm always in my own head, and I think that also has to do a lot with just, some of the, ADHD and other neurological shit that I have going on up there, but every time that I try to pretend to be something or someone that I'm not, I come off the complete opposite way of how I wanna be sort of perceived, right? I come off as fake, I come off as,
Mm-hmm.
like, awkward and weird, quite frankly. So, I decided a couple of years ago that, like, I just can't pretend to be something that I'm not anymore. I just can't. And a lot of my marketing and a lot of like the stuff that I do on LinkedIn, on TikTok and things like that is just sort of like the artistic, creative side of me. Like I've always been a musician. I've always been a creative. I've done comedy. I've been a comedy writer. I've done a bunch of different shit before I had to get a real job. And, yeah, I just made the decision to just go in on, like, who I am, and if it offends people, I don't really give a shit. If you don't wanna work with me, I don't care because there are plenty of people out there that have worked with me, and 95% of the business that I do get, it's because of the content that I put out there, not because I'm sitting around cold calling and I'm the best at it, which I'm horrible at.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it's gotten me a lot of business. It's gotten me a lot of friendships and relationships with, people like you and my Paz and all these other Amy Miller, right? All these people, and they know who I am. And that's just kind of like where I made the decision to do that.
Yeah, you're describing like a real bad boy crew that you're running with in the recruiting
I
world.
know, I know. I say that as like, it's funny, right? Because I think there's a big difference between like perception and reality, right? If you were to just kind of see who I am and things that I say, a lot of people would just be like, oh, this fucking guy. Like, I get it, right? And
Mhm.
like you said, like you don't know if I'm an actual good recruiter. You don't know if I'm able to fill this stuff or if I do a really good job of doing what I'm supposed to do. But I'm very good at what I do, luckily, and that's why I'm able to keep getting clients. But it's funny, just the perception of like marketing, how far that goes in determining like what people see and what they assume somebody is, right? Because that's not the first time I've heard that, right? Like people have said, "Are you actually good at what you do? Can you actually recruit? Like, or are you just some dickhead making videos on the internet? Like, what is it?" And, I personally think I've been able to stay afloat for 2.5 years doing this on my own. I never had to go
Yeah.
back to corporate America. I never had to go back to doing this. I don't have to beg for roles. Like, I'm always somewhat busy. So, I guess that goes to show for something, right? If I sucked at what I did, I wouldn't be able to do this anymore.
Yeah, I think that's the funny thing. And, because I think about all of these people, right, who are online and making content. And there's always this sort of line of like real practitioners versus not practitioners. And
Yep.
that's the thing is people make this sort of same assumption about me, right? Just
Yeah.
like, oh, you couldn't do it, and like you make these videos. I'm like, well, I'm doing both, right?
Yeah,
But I just like my videos, my content, the way I market myself. It's not going to be like, hey, want to watch me fill out a requisition form
I
and
know.
just like do an
Right.
intake call?
And, like, that's the thing that drives me crazy about, like, the agency side of things, right? Like, for me, my content has never been and never will be, like, sitting down and typing out, like, how I successfully filled a search, right?
Hmm.
Like, a client came to me, 17 other agencies could not fill it. And what I did is I created a scorecard, and they come to me for my speed, not my and I'm just like, okay, great." Like, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just something that I personally I couldn't do, but then there are guys out there who do, like, really well, like, good content that's also business related, and they talk about, like, just how they are in person. Like, Rich Rosen does a great job of that, um, in the SaaS world, and there's just a bunch of other guys and girls that do it really well. But, you can't compare yourselves to everybody else. I mean, there's not many people out there making Muppet AI videos, and it does well for me, It's just ridiculous.
How are you so good with Sora? This is like such a sidetrack that we don't need to go down, but like do you like pay for extra Sora? Like your Soras are so long and good, and every time I try and make a Sora, it's like me like standing like this with like arms swinging at weird angles and like
No, a lot of it has to do with the prompting, and a lot of it comes from just, like, my prior just experience with, like, making videos, with writing, with being able to, like, think in terms of, like, how would a director shoot this? How would somebody shoot this from the perspective of different shots, right? If I'm thinking of it as, like, a TV show or, like, a movie, like, there'll be times where, I have a whole thing I'm gonna release soon. I don't know if you've seen the ones that are, like, where I'm arguing with, like, a female a woman who's, like, pretending to be my girlfriend, but we're arguing about, like, SaaS software stuff.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of that comes from like watching or like looking at scenes from like the notebook and figuring out like just typing in like how I see it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's just like really intricate prompting and then having to think ahead of what the next scene is going to be because you only get 15 seconds. So you have to
Mm-hmm.
basically write it out and think about it. And then you go into like CapCut and paste it all together and manipulate it and add music and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
it's a pain in the ass. It's not like it's just like a one thing like do this. It's a bunch of shit you have to do.
Yeah. To tie all of this somehow to like recruiters listening who are just like, what the, I don't care about making Sora or any of these things. But maybe honestly, like if you listen to this podcast, I don't know what the fuck you want out of these episodes.
Yeah. I mean, especially with somebody like me, like, and that's what I always think about when I listen to to the recruiting podcasts. Is like, how many times can you talk about the ATS over and over again? Like,
I don't ever,
how many
right?
times can you
Like
talk about this shit? Like,
the taglines for this podcast literally are for recruiters hanging on by a thread, right?
yeah,
And just like this isn't a podcast meant to help you like optimize your pipeline by another 15%.
yeah, I'm
There's
not the
plenty of
guy
that
for
out
that.
there.
I'm not the guy for
Yeah.
that. And it's funny because I went on the Elite Recruiter podcast with Ben Mena, and the episode's
Mm-hmm.
really, really, it's good. It's one of the top ranking ones.
Sure.
And like, it's just because it was just probably two guys shooting the shit because
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sitting there and talking about like, oh well, this is what I do every morning. I wake up at 4 a.m. I go to the gym. I do my lifting, then I do this. My mind game, my mindset. Like I'm not that guy. Um,
Yeah.
so I don't know. Maybe that episode was just probably a lot closer to what you and I are doing. So
I've never been invited on that podcast yet, but one of these
you
days I will
will,
be
you
elite enough.
will, you will, you will.
I just need to make a
Absolutely.
few more stupid videos, I guess,
Yeah,
and that's
just
how
make
I
a
get
couple
it.
more Sora videos. Go out to Wreckfest with your what are you talking to? A screwdriver? Is that what I
I
saw?
talk in all sorts of things, but I do
Yeah,
talk into a screwdriver a lot.
that's funny.
I did a podcast episode at Wreckfest, and he talked into a screwdriver the whole time, and I used his real microphone.
That's
And I was
amazing.
like, that'll work for you.
That'll work.
But I think if you, but recruiters who are listening, I think especially there's a lot out there thinking of going their own route
Hmm.
or in the agency world. One thing I want with this podcast is I don't want to only focus on like internal recruiting because there's so many independent and agency people out there. Like, I do
Yeah.
think there's something to the idea of you don't have to develop your business by putting on that suit, right? And writing all that stuff. And I started my career in agency, and I remember I was killing it as a recruiter. And then I made the same mistake that so many recruiters make of like, I should move into account management because like that's where like the more money is. And I don't want to compete as a recruiter. And I remember my boss being like, well, you don't really have account manager like vibes to you, right? You're more recruiter. And like, so I started dressing nicer and like
Yeah.
wearing like sports coats, and all these things. And like,
Yeah.
you could just instantly feel my personality change too. And I sucked at it. Like I was
Horrible.
terrible at it.
Horrible.
Uh, you
Horrible.
can't do it.
My first job out of college, other than, selling credit cards at the airport and playing in like wedding bands and cover bands and shit, was at a deco. I was the guy that was driving around trying to sell like temp staffing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was same thing, like suit and tie, having to walk into like these businesses. I got I was kicked out of so many office buildings. After like
Mm-hmm.
security would see me go around and knock on all of them, I get kicked out. And the one thing I eventually figured out and how I got somewhat decent at it, I still sucked at door-to-door sales. Like I'm not gonna sit here and pretend I was great at it. But the one thing that I did notice is like perception is reality, right? So when I was walking into an office building, of course I would have to wear a suit, right? But if I was going and driving around this area by me up in like Port Washington, New York, where there's just a bunch of like light industrial sort of clients and stuff like that, I would go into the office. I would go in suit and tie because my manager was big on that. And then I would go in the car and then I would go around the block and I would just change jeans, like, I don't know, collared shirt or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd go into these offices or these, manufacturing plants and just go and look for the plant manager and BS my way into it because a lot of those guys, they see the suit, walk in, they're like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, who is this guy? Right. But if I'm more dressed down and I'm like I look more like them, they're more open
Mm-hmm.
to having conversations with me. And that's where I kind of found like my little niche while I was there.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing for anyone out there like struggling with the business development side of this, especially in a time when like recruiting is really hard and
Mhm.
agencies in general are struggling, right? A lot of agency recruiters are finding other things to do. And um, if you're struggling with business development, that like, yeah, you are better off finding the person who wants to work with you than the one who's just like, okay, sure, here's another person who acted like every other account manager who comes in. But those are
Right.
also the ones that are going to forgive you when your candidate no shows or right when there's a big screw up, right? You don't just like get the axe right away. Like they want to work with you,
Right.
not your candidate almost.
Right. Exactly. I mean, like one of my clients I'm going to, like they have this huge event on the 6th and like they want me to go with them, right? Because like I essentially built out their entire sales team. They're like, "No, there's no way we're not going to hold this event and not have you come and join us. You built this whole goddamn team, dude. Like you have to be there, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And there are people that are clients that you cold call out of nowhere, and, like like you said, they're the ones that you haven't built that true relationship with, like, you fuck up or you mess up once or twice, you're done,
Yeah.
right? So it's just, like, find the people that like you for you, wanna work with you, develop that real relationship with you. You're gonna have a lot easier of a time building relationships and, making money with those ones than you are just cold calling for dollars all day.
Yeah. I was so bad at it. And that was ever and I lost those clients all the time when someone just like screwed up. Like they're just like, okay,
Yep.
like I don't know you. I don't really like you, and you're not doing anything that every other agency. Oh, let
Yeah.
me guess, your agency, like you're different than every other agency. You really build relationships for the long term, and like
Yep.
get to like. Oh, I remember thinking that like our agency meant that when we said it, that like we were actually
Never,
different than everyone else.
never. The differentiation game is such nonsense. It's every single person is doing the same exact thing, right?
Hmm.
And it's just a hard question to ask or to answer, right? It's like when you're different, like how are you different from the other recruiters that we're working with? Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I have no
like I'm
idea,
just
man.
me.
I'm
Right? Do you
just
want to
me.
work
Like,
with me?
right. Like I know the market. I know this. I know that. Yo, so everyone else says that. Okay.
Hmm.
Well, I'll
We
send you
really build
fucking,
relationships. Like we don't just want to cram anybody
yeah.
into one role. Meanwhile, the first thing you do is just start cramming anybody you
Right into
can
the
into their
roles,
role.
right? Yeah, like you're looking for like what do they call the NPCs? Like the most placeable candidates. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to send this guy. It's hard. It really is, and I feel like one of the ways that most people are just getting business today, it really is just through relationships. Like,
Hmm. I said, "What are we fiddling with?" You grab something to fiddle with.
oh, a red,
I have an
yeah,
eyeglass cleaner. I fiddle all the
dot.
time when I talk.
It's a dot. It's my kids.
You-
I'm like
You're
interrupting their
playing
art
bingo.
table. Yeah, so
Oh, gotcha.
one of those
Yeah,
things.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm always playing with things off camera in my hands when I
Have to,
talk.
dude. It's the ADHD. It's the
Yeah.
ADHD, and yeah,
Um. So we did it. We got this to be about recruiting, which is amazing.
it's good.
Um. The which helps because you brought up a lot of this stuff, and I think that made me think of what I want to talk about with you. With we always talk on our podcast and the newsletter, something I call recruiting in the wild, which I know you will have a lot of thoughts on. And it's really just something we saw out there in the wild recently that recruiters were doing and saying and making it harder for all of us.
Yep, yep, yep.
So I saw a post on LinkedIn. It was 3 days ago. Um, I'll tell you my comment before I even tell you what this post said. Even though I'm the worst at this, like I talk about this in every episode, like I want to avoid all these things, but you know how hard it can be.
Yeah.
My response to this was every one of these is terrible. I know this isn't really a productive comment, but I just wanted to say that. Um, so this was from somebody, an agency recruiter, because you brought up that post about an agency recruiter. Like, here's how we do things. Here's what makes us different.
Yeah.
I want to know your thoughts on this agency recruiter separating themselves with 3 controversial things we do during our recruitment process.
All right.
For those who can't see and aren't watching the video, the largest eye roll I've ever seen happened from Shaun before I even started reading this post.
I've been doing this long enough that we both know where this is going, and it's probably
Yeah,
not
these
going to
ones are
end
actually, I
well.
will say, I haven't heard some of these, which is pretty impressive. Number one is they implement a 1 minute late policy. Even if you're a minute late, they take you out of the process. I'm not going to read their full explanation on it. I'm going to
Okay.
keep this post quicker. Number two is no resume typos, automatic rejection. Um, Number three is they have a long informal sit down before the final interview. And I'm going to read you what they say about this. To me, this is an interview, but originally we called this the Are You Going to Take the Job talk. But now it's turned into an in depth conversation where we ask about their familial obligations during working hours, their current employment situation, why they're applying to the job, and where they want to be in 5 years. I need to make sure that this is going to be a fit on both sides instead of pushing someone to the role that's going to leave in 3 months.
That's the
Um,
last thing they do.
that's the last thing to do, but right before their final interview with their client is they then sit
I
down
mean,
and like,
I think that tells you everything you need to know, right? Like if that's you're doing all of that stuff before the final interview with your client. I mean, I've had candidates that kind of play things close to the chest, especially in sales, right? Because they're
mm-hmm,
always looking for, something else or the better deal. But if you were having that conversation at that point in time, dude, like that tells you everything that you need to know about that. Sometimes people will play things close to the chest, and you do need to have a listen, dude. Like before I put you in touch or with the VP of sales, or you're gonna meet the CEO, who's a good
mm-hmm,
client of mine. If I feel like they're just like dicking me around, or if I feel like there's some weirdness or kind of lacking in communication, I will absolutely have a conversation. Like, dude, where are we going with this? Is this something that you really are interested in, or what? But to make it so official and at that point in the process too, that's just nonsense. The other two I'm not even gonna acknowledge because that's just idiocracy. Like, that is the dumbest thing I've probably ever heard in my life, when it comes to recruiting, but
yeah, like it's so funny because everyone's late to everything. In this era, like I
yeah.
just like that's always the funniest scenario. Is like if someone's late by a minute, I throw them out. It's just like, well, how often are you on time? Because you know how many interviews I sat in with people who were late, candidates and hiring managers.
Yes, it's the same kind of thing that it's infuriating to the point of just I know you're saying things to be stupid. And that's what I think is
Mm-hmm.
a big problem with LinkedIn. I feel like there's a couple of just like that's where branding has gotten to. It's gotten to the point of like, hey, I'm so desperate to cut through the noise that I'm just going to say idiotic things. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to mean it in a non-satirical way. There are plenty of things that I've posted that are insane. Like, go look at LinkedIn lunatics. Like, one of my favorite ones is I talked about cold calling on Mother's Day because
Mm-hmm.
moms are going to be very close to their phone and they're expecting phone calls
Yeah,
from. It was purely satirical,
and
pure,
because they
pure.
can't understand satire on LinkedIn lunatics, they just
They're the dumbest people. I mean, I am not what you would call by any stretch of the imagination a scholar or someone who has an educational, background. Some days I have the intellectual capacity of a horseradish, and I understand that. But those people in their inability to kind of like take satire,
mm-hmm.
um, Google my name, or not Google my name, Google me in that thread and some of the funniest comments you'll ever see. Just it's amazing. But yeah, people post just real things and they're willing to just be like, "Yeah, I said that just to get attention." And there's a big difference between doing things creatively to, be humorous and then just sounding like an idiot.
Yeah. It's funny because yeah, Poe's law always strikes when it comes to LinkedIn at this point. But yeah, LinkedIn lunatics, they're so ready to hate LinkedIn and
Yeah.
pound sign and like and you hate LinkedIn in like a certain way. But like they're so ready to just like hate the existence of the page that like they'll believe anything. Just like
Yeah.
if it makes them hate it more.
That's I when it comes to that particular thread, it used to be really, really funny. Like, it
Mm-hmm.
really did before it got so big, and it was usually just, like, picking on the Gary V people of the world,
Yeah.
like, the ones that were just so ludicrous, the dudes who were
Mm-hmm.
taking pictures of Ferraris and private jets, and that's all good and fun because at the end of the day, like, those are the people, those are the guys and girls that are they know exactly what they're doing, so you
Yeah.
also don't feel bad making fun of or, like, just playing around with those people or commenting. But
Mm-hmm.
some of the stuff that you see it now, it's just that's, like, typical, like, dumb LinkedIn stuff, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's just
It's
like
just like social media.
yeah, exactly, right? And all of, the political stuff and all of that, every time it's like somebody posts they see a guy who, he lives in the middle of Podunk, Iowa, and he's posting about, conservatives or something like that. Everyone, no matter who it is, like, hops on to,
Mm-hmm.
it's just it sucks now. And it used to be fun. It used to be like interesting, but
Has somehow LinkedIn Lunatics become worse than LinkedIn? Is that where we've gone?
I I I think it's a different kind of I think it's a different kind of bad. And I've always said that the people on LinkedIn, at least they have the balls to put the stuff out there with their
Mm-hmm.
real name on it,
Yeah.
right? They have the balls to go, no matter how bad or stupid you might think it is, everyone who's on there commenting with an anonymous name, everyone who's on there talking shit, they have a lot more balls than you ever will because you have to come on a Reddit thread to take them down. Go say
Mm-hmm.
that stuff like right under that post. I would have a
Yeah.
lot more respect for you right then and there. But
Yeah.
everybody, it's just a society or like little group of, little trolls that don't have a pair of balls. And that's fine with me, but do it in a place where we could all see it and these people could defend themselves. That's
I've
all.
still never made LinkedIn Lunatics, which is kind of crazy. Um, and part of it
Wow.
is my most of my posts are very just like basic, but like even my satire ones, I never get on there. Like even just like I don't know,
Yeah,
it upsets me. It upsets me that that LinkedIn Lunatics doesn't even notice me.
yeah. I mean, let me ask you, was the one that you did about the fish and the feet, was that real or was that satire?
The fish and the feet.
Yeah, didn't you make a video about like
Oh
making
yeah, 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 yeah. No, that was totally made up. Um,
okay.
yeah, that was the video that just like blew up LinkedIn for where I microwaved the tinfoil and talked about how I microwave fish at work.
And you sit around with your feet for no
Yeah, my
reason.
feet. I mean, I work at home, so like technically, yes, like I
Right, you
have
work
bare
at home,
feet
right.
out.
Oh my god.
The funniest thing is recording that video with the foil is my wife came home like while I was doing it, and I was like so embarrassed because I'm like balling up foil in the microwave and propping my phone up in the microwave, and like she's just like, "Ugh, so like
What
you're
are you
not gonna go
doing?
get another job? Like this is it? This is really
Dude,
what you're doing these days?"
all the time. Like I can't do anything while my wife is around because my wife is for the same way. Right? She'd be like, what the hell
Yeah,
are
it's
you
embarrassing.
doing? Right? Like, are you trying to be an influencer? Are you trying to do this? Like, what is the end game here? And I'm like, I'm not in the band anymore. I'm not doing the comedy anymore. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
doing anything anymore. This is my outlet.
Yep.
Leave me alone. Are the bills paid? Yeah. Are we doing good? Okay. Yeah. So who
Yeah.
cares?
Microwaving tinfoil is paying my bills. I'm telling you. Um,
Right.
maybe that's why I don't get on Lunatics because I don't think they do video over there. Like it's only text posts
Oh,
and
it's only,
images. Like
yeah. Yeah. No,
I need
people don't
a
really watch it, the
yeah.
videos. So,
Um, okay, so recruiting is a nightmare.
mhm.
Obviously, we talk about it all the time, and it's why this podcast even exists. I always like asking people their recruiting nightmare story. Mostly because one, they're always fun to hear, but two, like with the exception of one time, it's always something where like myself and probably most listeners are like, "Yep, same thing happened. Totally get it." So knowing a recruiting nightmare can be anything from a client to a hiring manager to a candidate to a role or anything as this. For the bad boy recruiting, what is your recruiting nightmare
Jesus
story?
Christ. Okay. I could get, I'm going to try to get like actually serious on this one because this
Okay,
one really fucked me up for a
sure.
very long time. And I have to preface this by saying that this is just yeah, like it was a situation that I, thank God, naturally took care of itself. But here are the details. Don't cancel me. Don't yell at me. Don't hate me. So I was working for it was a software company, and we were um, hiring account executives for, I forgot what region it was. I think it was like somewhere in Ohio. And, reach out to candidates, we'd bring them in, we would give them this aptitude test, we'd have them go through crazy, crazy, not crazy, crazy, but just a bunch of meetings. It was the initial screen, hiring manager likes them, right? Then we would send them the assessment, right? And then they would fly out to New York, right? Meet with a bunch of people on site, do a demonstration, and then meet with the CEO. It was super, super long. We found this person. We found this woman in, yeah, in Ohio for that role. Hiring manager loved her. Best assessment score out of anyone that I'd given that to, anyone that I'd given it to, comes on site. Every single hiring manager loved her, knocked it
Mhm.
out of the park. From the VP of enablement, the VP of marketing, and these are all like the C-level executive levels. It was a pretty big company. It was a publicly traded company. Um, Met with her and they loved her. CEO spent 10 minutes with her and came out just like, no. And it had nothing to do with her ability to sell, had nothing to do with the fact that she was, a woman. That had nothing to do with that. And had everything to do with the fact that she was lacking executive presence.
Mm.
Code word, whatever you want to put in there. She wasn't attractive enough. She wasn't
Sure.
whatever. And having that, did not have that conversation, or I fought with HR about it. And HR at that company was spineless, so they brought nothing up. They did absolutely nothing. And the leadership at that company, they were too spineless too to go and fight for this person because every single one had given them great scores and just listened to the CEO. Luckily, during that time, she was interviewing with 2 other companies, and she had taken another offer, so the situation itself kinda took care of itself before anything had to, like, really happen. But that was one of the worst things that I've ever witnessed. It was one of the most disgusting things I had ever witnessed, and I called a friend of mine, a gentleman who had since passed, and a lot of people, if you listen to this, a gentleman named Derek Zeller. Now, Derek was one of these guys, he was awesome. He was awesome. Just a really great guy. He was always at, like, these source cons. He was, like, the first sort of, like, blogger in recruiting, and I developed a relationship with him. And after that, um, I was just like, dude, I gotta quit. I gotta quit. Like, I can't be here anymore. I can't be here. I can't, work with a company like this. He kind of like talked me down off the edge, like, you have a family to support, you have this, you have that. Then he offered to get me a job as a sourcer, and he had no idea. Like, I had no idea how to source at that time. He was at, like, one of the big defense companies, and he was just willing to get me a job there and just let me do it, but luckily, the whole thing kind of faded. But yeah, that was the worst thing I've ever seen in my career, and I always kind of think to myself, "Did I handle that right? Like, how could I have handled that?" Like, yeah, that was just a really fucked up situation.
Just the CEO not hiring her for not being attractive enough.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
just crazy, and I had texts that were, confirming exactly what we just kinda said from VPs, and it was just a horrible situation to be in. I didn't know how to do it or
Mhm.
what to even do, especially being that HR at that company was one of the ones that people talk about. It was like, yeah, they're only looking out for, best interests of the CEO. Because
Sure.
imagine going public with that CEO.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a nightmare. Probably the worst one that I've ever really worked with.
What feedback did you give the candidate?
She took another job. Like, it
Oh.
was between, like, her, it was between our company and another company,
Mhm.
and she went with that one, and it was just kind of, "Oh, okay,"
Oh, okay.
yeah, so that one stuck with me
Yeah.
a lot. That
Yeah,
that
it's
sucked.
gross, and we've all heard that, right? And it's something we talk about a ton in the newsletter. I think even more, just kind of like these horror story managers and the things they say, and how we have to handle kind of talking to the candidate and talking through it, and how hard can you push back. And it's something that I think people who don't recruit really don't get. Right? That's one of
Yeah,
those things that like, oh, recruiters will blah blah blah. It's just like no, like that's like
yeah.
if you took recruiters out of the process, those kind of things would happen 10 times more than they
Oh, a lot
happen
more.
now.
It
Like,
was one of the reasons why I stopped doing, like,
mhm.
med device and things like that, because literally, like, there were times where I would work with hiring managers where they're just like, "Okay, get me the 6'2" lacrosse kid," or,
Yeah.
the blonde with the implants, like, that's
Yes.
really what it was, and anyone that's ever sort of done med device, you probably know, and, like, I
Mhm.
would send over profiles, and these people were so qualified online, and then the hiring manager would just, like, say, "Not interested," and after they saw them on LinkedIn or,
Yeah.
just gross. Like, that's the stuff that is just so haunting and so you what can you do? Like, how much can you push? And you
Yeah.
try it, and I did, and, in a couple of instances, and it didn't really end well.
Honestly, for a long time, recruiting was like that too.
Yeah.
Especially like agency recruiting.
Oh, 100%.
Uh, I did have somebody once told me, a very old manager, that I would be the first unattractive person they ever hired if they hired me.
How did that come up? Did they
Uh,
just say? Because
they
I've
just
I've
needed
seen
to
you
let me
write
know.
about that. Like, it w that is crazy. That is,
They're
like,
like, "You're not gonna tell anyone if I say this to you," and like, they were right, and like, now I'm telling the world. But
that's so
yeah,
funny.
it's just like, and it was just like so open that you could talk like that in certain like environments.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't wrong, I guess, but like,
Oh,
still, uh,
you stop it, Michael.
um, okay, getting out of here. The way I always wrap this show, and the reason I started the podcast, the newsletter, all of it, right, is because we've talked about like recruiting is hard right now,
Yeah.
and we referenced it at the beginning with sort of like the group you found and things like that. But like one of the main reasons I started all this is I just don't think there's enough voices and spots for like recruiters and frustrated recruiters and recruiting community. Right, like I spent the last couple months traveling to all of these events and like remembering and feeling how good it actually felt to go. And it's funny because you talk to a lot of recruiters and they don't even know most of these events even exist.
Yeah.
And I want to kind of get words out about that. So like, obviously you talked about finding those people at the beginning, but like, how do you cope? Like, how do you cope with what it's like in recruiting and being a recruiter right now? Like, building a community is part of it, but also just like, how
I
do you
drink a
cope and build a
lot.
community?
I dr
Okay.
I drink a lot. No. Um, it's just I'm only kidding about the drinking thing, although I am not one of these people who's, like, anti-drinking and all that fun stuff. How do I cope with it? I think it's community. It really is. I have a couple of people that I lean on really,
Mm-hmm.
like, when I'm having a bad kinda day, right? People that understand the frustrations in the especially in the agency world and the agency side that
Mm-hmm.
have just become, like, really, really close friends of mine, like, Paz is one of them. Paz is, like, 15 minutes from me, by the way, so, like, we see each other pretty
Do you guys see
often.
each other in person a
Yeah.
lot? That's cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Paz
I live
lives
15 minutes from Joel,
Oh,
and we've
nice.
from Joel Algie, and we've only ever seen each other not at an event one time when both of our families just happened to like go to the same beach one day. Like we live 15 minutes away, and for 5 years, it's just always like, yeah, let's get together and grab coffee, and like we never ever do.
That's so funny. Yeah. It's, yeah, Paz is a very good friend of mine, and he's someone that I lean on all of the time. My friend Mark Constant, who's a Philly recruiter, that I talk to him almost daily, just kind of like, "Hey, what's going on?" Um, this guy that is down in Texas, his name is Imran, really, like, just a good dude that we kind of, established this little community of venting and picking each
Mm-hmm.
other up, right? I think that's really the only thing that you could do, in terms of coping, right? Because like, when you're by yourself, it's not like you have a ton of you can't just, like, roll over to the desk next to you or go talk to somebody at the water cooler, right? That just does not happen, and I'm somebody that I'm still trying to figure this shit out. I've only been doing it for, 2 years, and there are guys and girls out there that are billing millions and millions of bucks, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you're just kind of like, I want to get to that level, but how do I do it? I'm not going to be able to figure it out all on my own, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just having people there that are essentially um, people that you can go to. You're essentially like your coworkers. You're not fighting for the same things or building the same thing rather, but you're all in this little shit show of an industry together. So
Yeah.
that's really, like, the way that I've been able to kinda cope with it.
Yeah. And that's the lesson, right? That's what I want people to take, right? I like the people listening. I think recruiting can be very isolated. You're often the only person, right? Even in like companies, even internal, right? You're often a
Yeah.
part of a very small team, if not the only one. You're generally disliked by both everyone in the company and everyone outside of the company. Like a lot of people just don't respect or appreciate what you do. And it can be hard. And yeah, I mean, like we've referenced group chats that like I'm in with other recruiters on like this show, and like we
Yeah.
go these things. Like I know you and Richie Lampani do some of these things online sometimes.
Yeah.
Richie, I'm assuming, is in the episode probably airing right before this one. We just sat down and talked with him as well.
Nice.
And you guys gonna do a lot. And I just think that like that's what I want listeners to sort of take away is like find your people and build that community. Go to these events or meet up with people in person, or even if it's group chats or whatever. Like I just think that we have to, because it's not getting better. Like
It's
the more
not.
isolated you let yourself become.
It's not. It's recruiting itself. I feel like there's two camps, right? There's camps of people and they are generally like the more seasoned recruiters that have been doing this like forever, and they feel
Hmm.
like recruiters will never go away because they always need the human touch and they always need the provide such an amazing level of service that your clients can't live without you, right?
Hmm.
And then there's a camp of people that are AI is going to replace all of us, but the truth is I feel like there's somewhere really like in between
Hmm.
where AI is gonna take a lot of, like, a lot of it away, because when you talk to some of these, like, agency or these clients, why would they wanna continue to pay the crazy fees when they have, like, these AI things?
Hmm.
So, it's just getting harder. It's not gonna get any easier by any stretch of your imagination, and you're right, like, you have to be able to go and have people to lean on.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're listening and don't go to some of these events or have these people, please go do it. Um, I think most of them, we went through this year, but there is TA week coming up in San Diego. And I think that's another chance for some of you to get out of the house and
Nice.
go to some of these things. Some of your companies may pay for these things to
Yeah,
kind of go to them as well. I'll be there as well. But awesome. This is good. We managed to make a lot of this about recruiting, right?
we did.
I always have this like line where I want this to be fun for recruiters to listen to, but at the same time, there has to be something beneficial for them.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want this to ever just become like, let's all get together and bitch about how much recruiting sucks and do nothing of value either. But again, I don't care about improving your pipeline or
Right.
making you more efficient either. I just want to make you a little bit happier out there doing the
Right.
job.
And that's what it is, man. I think that's a good reason why a lot of these podcasts should, or what they should be doing, right? But yeah, every podcast has its place, man. I think this is awesome. I like what you're
Yeah.
doing, trying to get more community in.
Yeah, I appreciate you joining us. Find Shaun on LinkedIn and on TikTok. He is a recruiter.
Yes.
But you can also, his TikTok is much more of just sort of a lot of shit posting.
All it is
You,
shit post.
you will see him making fun of a lot of things you'll see on LinkedIn, but he is also valuable content on LinkedIn despite the fun, the fun as well. And then other than that, I will see everybody soon and be in touch by the end of the week.
Okay.